Hi, welcome to the video. So today I'm going to talk about circle fifths. So kind of your basic one is something like this. And it's got the key signatures around the outside, then the outer ring of letters are your major keys, and the inner one is your relative minor that associates with that. So for example, G is a relative minor of B flat. So I'm going to show you how to use this in both improvising, chord progressions, figuring out the sharps and flats and keys, relative minors, all that stuff, but not just. A lot of them will show how to do it on guitar without the circle fifths too, because I think that's more beneficial in a lot of ways. And the circle fifths is really helpful on instruments that aren't laid out in a symmetrical fashion. But in guitar, you don't always need the circle fifths, because if I play like a major scale, arpeggio, chord, it's going to be the same fingering when I move to a new key. So a lot of times I don't necessarily need the circle fifths to be able to change keys with things as easily. Well, if you're using a different fingering for every key, that's going to be more confusing. Than the circle fifths can help make it more plain and understandable. Okay, so why is it called circle fifths? Basically, a fifth, if you count up a major scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's a fifth note up from the root, like a power chord shape. So that's your fifth. The fourth would be the fourth note up, so distance from the 1 to the 4. Now, if you look at this, C to G is a fifth. But if I go G, A, B, C, that's a fourth. So that's why this can also be called a circle of fourths, because if I go C to G, that's clockwise, that's all fifths. But if I go the other direction, G to C, that's a fourth, and it's all fourths if I go counterclockwise. So you're doing both fifths and fourths depending on which direction you're going. Okay, now if I want to know the relative minor, a simple way to do that without having to look at the circle fifths. It's the sixth degree of the major scale, but an easier way to think about it, instead of going C, D, E, F, G, A, okay, this A is my relative minor. All I have to do is realize that this A and this A, same note. I can put my pinky on my major and just lay my fingers down. 3 frets back is my relative minor. Always true. If I'm, it doesn't matter what string I'm on. So if I'm in the, for example, key of A, I put my finger down here. F sharp is my relative minor. I can reverse it. If I go G minor, put my finger down here, this would be my major. So if I think like a minor pentatonic and I'm playing it on my relative minor, my major is always where my pinky would fall, the second note of the minor pentatonic. Then if you look at that, this shows the same thing. G minor is B flat major, just like G minor, B flat major. So that's a simple way to find your relative minor. Now, there's also a simple way to find the major and minor chords in the key. If you look at this, the C, if you go backwards is the F and forwards is the G, those are your 3 major chords. So anywhere around here, if you put center on one major note and then go on either side of it, that's your 3 major chords in that key. So A has the E and D. E flat has the B flat and A flat. So again, it's a 1, 4, 5. So if you do it on guitar and you don't want to have the circle fifths or don't want to visualize here, then same thing. 1, 4 is directly below, and 5 is 2 frets up. C, F, G. There's my 3 majors. A, D, E, 3 majors in A. G, C, D, 3 majors in G. So easy way to find your major chords. You don't even need the circle fifths. Then if you go to the relative minor, it's the same thing. This is 4 back. This is 5. The fifth forward from this A note. So if you're thinking of C as my root, then D is my 2 and E is my 3. But if I think of A, the minor as my root now, these 3 minors are the 1, 4, 5 from A. So I can go A minor, D minor, E minor are my 3 minor chords in the key, not counting the minor flat 5. So that gives me all 6 of my primary chords in the key. So using the circle of fifths, this grouping of 6 notes, the major and relative minor, and the ones on either side of it are my 3 majors and my 3 minors. The one oddball, the minor flat 5, would be the B, which is one further around the circle. Now, on guitar, again, like I just showed, if I'm, let's say, in the key of A, 1, 4, 5, there's my 3 majors. Pinky, here's my relative minor. F sharp, B, C sharp are my 3 minors. It's that easy to find your main ones. The minor flat 5 is always just one fret back from the major. So if I'm on A, it's G sharp minor flat 5. If I'm on C, it's B minor flat 5. Okay, and there's your 7 chords in the key. If you're going up to 7ths, well, all the 3 minors are just minor 7s. And then, of course, the minor flat 5 would be minor 7 flat 5. Then the 1 and 4 are major 7s, and the 5 is a dominant 7. And that's your 7ths in the key. Okay, so now how about you try and figure out how many sharps or flats are in a key? Let's say you have this circle, you know there's 3 sharps in the key of A, but you can't read standard music, so you're not sure what the 3 sharps are, or you don't have this in front of you and not sure what they are. Well, all you have to do is, again, use your scale. So if I know my C major scale, I move back to A, and I know my notes on neck, A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. There's my 3 sharps, C sharp, F sharp, and G sharp. Doesn't matter what key you go to. If I go B, B, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B. So all of them but 2 were sharped, so 5. And if you look down here, B, 5 sharps. So that's all you have to do is put your major scale on any note, and you can figure out what the sharps and flats are. You know, if you're doing a flat key like B flat, it'll be kind of obvious because I'm starting on B flat, C, D, E flat, F. You know, you just don't want to repeat any of the letters, so you're not going to do and you're not going to have a sharp and a flat in the same key. So that's how you'll be able to easily determine whether it's a sharp or flat note when you're going through it. Okay, the other thing, if you want to create a circle of fifths or figure out, let's say, what key has 4 sharps in it, but you don't have this, or you want to write one up because you don't have it, then easy. It's just fifths and fourths. So there's 6 keys with sharps and 6 keys with flats, and then the one without. The 6 sharps and 6 flats are just duplicates, so there's still only 12 total. So if I start on C, and let's say I want to figure out, okay, what key has 2 sharps? All I have to go is C is 0, 5th higher is G, that's 1, 5th higher than that, D. D is key of 2 sharps. Let's say I want to go through all the sharps keys. C, 0, G1, D2, A3. Now, so I don't have to cross B string, just go up to A. That was 3. E is 4, B is 5, and F sharp is 6. So there's all 6 sharp keys. Now if I do fourths, you get the flats. C0, F1 flat, B flat is 2, E flat is 3. Go up to E flat here so I can continue. A flat is 4, D flat is 5, and G flat is 6. There's my 6 flat keys. So easy to figure out what the sharps and flats keys are, and you know, a good way to practice that is just do what I just did and write out your circle of fifths yourself without looking at one, and then just double check it and see if you wrote them all correct. Okay, now let's talk about improvising with it and using chord progressions. So to me, this is where the value comes in more so, because everything we've talked about up until now, you can actually do on the guitar without the circle of fifths and figure out the answers. So if I want to improvise or do chord progressions over key changes, this has all 12 in a pattern of fifths and fourths, and you can make other patterns within it, you know, skipping and stuff like that to make many different interesting key change patterns. But it's a more interesting way to get through all 12 keys than if I, for example, just went F, F sharp, G, and moved through, you know, all 12 keys one fret at a time or something like that. So let's say I'm doing the first 3 going on the sharp side, so up fifths. So the first basic level I could do is say, okay, I'm going to play a C scale, then I'll move down to G, which is my next one, then play a G scale, and then go D, my next one, but not very interesting. So then, unless that's really all you can handle, I'd move on to the next one, which is if you know all the scales in one key, you can just say, okay, what scale would fall in the same spot in the key of G? So yeah, I've got the C major here, but if I switch to G, it'd be my Phrygian. So then I can do my Phrygian scale. If I switch to D, we're in D major, here's my B minor, it'd be my relative minor, B minor for the key of D. And then you can improvise in that, so you can be playing again in my C major, switch to my Phrygian, then switch to my B minor, still not as interesting because you're still sticking in one place. So the next step, of course, would be do across the whole neck in any of them. So I can be starting on any of my scales in the key of C. So I could be back here in my A minor, moving to like my Phrygian or something, and then switch to my G major, and then switch to my B minor, which is the key of D major. Sometimes referred to as relative minor, sometimes referred to as major, doesn't matter. But so you can switch between any of them that way and get comfortable with that. So that's a good practice. Run through all 12 keys that way. Then, of course, you can do it the other direction too. So I could go C, F, and go that direction. So again, I'm in the key of C major, and then I want to go F. Well, F is also the key of D minor, so I'm right here. I can switch to my Mixolydian, my Phrygian, wherever I want, and it'll go back and forth and continue around the circle in fourths. And it'll create some key changes that still sound pretty good. You can also jump in different ones. I could go C to A, which makes for interesting one because A minor going to A major. So I can be playing in the A minor scale, and then you can switch to A major. If I continue around in that same pattern, everything's symmetrical, so I just continue to do the same thing. Each time I went around, I'd be going to the major of the last relative minor. So any type of chord key change that you like, you can then move it through all the keys. Chord progression, same thing. Let's say I wanted to do like a 2-5-1 chord progression. Now it just so happens, if I look at, first I'll look at it on the guitar. If I'm doing that, D, G, C would be a 2-5-1 and C. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, D, and the D we decided was a minor. G is a major, so it's D minor, G major, C major. And if you go sevenths, it's actually a minor 7, dominant 7, major 7. Okay, so I could do minor 7, dominant 7, and then major 7. Now, of course, I could do it in different fingerings. I could put the D down here and the G over here and the major 7 here, wherever you want. But find one position you can do it in. Now, if you look at this, you'll notice D, G, C. That's it, the same ones. I mean, it's not telling you whether it's major or minor, but it's the 3 chords or 3 notes. So if I wanted to do a 2-5-1 off G, I could do the same thing. I could look here and just go 2-5-1, 2-5-1, and move through that. But I can also do it if I want to move through this from the key of C to G, or go backwards, C to F, for example. Okay, so here's my F fret, or F fret here. If I'm going to do the same C change here, this would be kind of a big jump, so I'm going to go this F here. So I could use the original one. I could look at this and say, okay, what are the 3 chords? G, C, F. But I can also take the progression I did before. Here's my F, here's my 2, and then here's my 5, and here's my 1. So G, C, F. So then I could say the same thing down here, G, minor 7, C, dominant 7, F. There's my 2-5-1 in the key of F. So I can move through the whole 12 keys with any chord progression like that. I could do a 1, 5, 6, 4 chord progression, real common ones. I could repeat it back to 5-1 to end it, or just straight back to 1. But I've got that pattern now, so I can move that to any key. So what was that? That was a 2. Then I went to the 5, which is G. Went to the 6 and went to 4. So 2, 5, 6, 4. Sorry, not 2. 1, 5, 6, 4. So C, G, A, F, and we were major, major, A is minor. Now if I want to change to a different key, so I just did that in C. Let's say I want to go to G, no problem. So same thing. I can take the G down here, 5, 6, 4, and have the same progression. Again, you go through all the keys. So a lot of different things you can do. I think we'll leave it at that. You can basically, you're only limited by your imagination. You could figure out arpeggios by taking different shapes, you know, C, E, G, and then if I take that same shape, G, B, D, it's going to be that. I could use the minors on here. C, E, G would be a major arpeggio or chord. So you can find a lot of different things. You can do like a C major scale just by going back one and starting on the F and going all the way around, counting 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So to B, and that's the 7 notes in the C major scale. But most of the stuff you can do on guitar. You know, you don't really need this as a reference. If it helps you, go for it. It's good for the improvising and moving through all the keys. But a lot of this other stuff you can do directly here, and I think that's more beneficial in the long run. All right, so we'll leave it at that. Please like or subscribe, and I'll see you next time.